Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We take mountains of research, expert takes, personal stories, and boil it all down for you.
Yeah, into the key stuff you can actually use.
And today, we're tackling something huge, something that just steals happiness. Theodore Roosevelt actually called it the thief of joy.
He did. We're talking about comparison, the constant urge to measure your life against someone else's.
It's everywhere, and honestly, it can make life miserable.
Absolutely. It's often this low-grade background noise of misery for so many people. So for this deep dive, we've pulled together quite a stack.
What have we got?
Well, we've got academic studies on, cognitive biases, how our brains trick us. We have insights from therapists, life coaches, people on the front lines of this stuff.
Okay.
And also really detailed personal accounts, stories from people who've actually navigated their way out of the comparison trap. It gives the psychology and the practical side.
Perfect. So our mission today, for you listening, is pretty clear.
Yeah.
First, we're going to unpack why. Why does comparing yourself always end up feeling, well, disappointing?
Yeah, why does it consistently let us down?
Exactly. And then, more importantly, we want to give you a toolkit, like a solid 5-step plan to shift your focus.
Right. Away from competing, away from looking outwards all the time.
And towards what? Towards your own inherent value, your own integrity.
Precisely. Rooting your self-worth firmly inside yourself, not based on how you stack up against others.
Okay. So where do we start? It feels like such a subtle trap sometimes.
It really is. And it's insidious because sometimes it feels like ambition, right? Or just, healthy competition.
Yeah, I just want to be better.
Exactly. But one of the sources, a personal story, really highlighted this. It was from a woman looking back at her teenage years. She talked about spending hours just agonizing over photos. Photos of women she thought were beautiful.
Oh, I think a lot of people can relate to that.
For sure. And she was completely convinced, if I just had her face or if I just had her body, then I'd finally be happy. Accepted.
Right. That external change being the key.
But the kicker came years later. Looking back, she had this realization.
What was it?
It wasn't actually their face or their body she wanted. Not really. She didn't want their specific genetics or their specific, life.
So what did she want?
The feeling. The feeling of confidence she imagined they had, the self-love, the internal peace she projected onto those images.
Okay, so she wasn't actually chasing the physical thing.
No, she was chasing an internal state by trying to change the external.
Wow. Okay, that distinction feels really important. Wanting the feeling you project onto someone
versus wanting the actual messy reality of their specific life, their body, their job, their relationships.
Which we never actually see, right? We see the snapshot, the highlight.
Exactly. You envy the outcome, that picture of effortless joy, maybe. But you don't consider the trade-offs, the sacrifices, the hidden anxieties that come with their specific package deal.
And that leads us straight into the psychology of it all, doesn't it? How our brains are kind of set up for this.
Yeah, let's unpack the comparison mechanism itself. You hear it all the time. Oh, comparing is natural. And, on some level, it is.
Right. Like caveman brain stuff, knowing where you fit in the tribe.
Sort of. Historically, humans are social animals. Knowing your relative rank, your standing in the group, well, that could determine access to resources, safety. It was a survival thing.
But we're not exactly dodging saber-toothed tigers anymore. So how does it work now?
Well, the sources are really clear on this. While it might have natural roots, today it functions mostly as a cognitive shortcut, a really flawed one.
A shortcut? How so?
Your brain's trying to make sense of the social world quickly. Where do I stand? But in doing that, it creates this huge blind spot. It systematically distorts reality.
Okay, a blind spot. What kind of blind spot are we talking about?
Psychologists often call it the selective focus blind spot. When you start comparing yourself, especially negatively, your brain isn't looking for objective truth.
It's not. What's it looking for then?
It's looking for evidence to confirm whatever negative thing you already believe about yourself.
Oh, wow. So it's actively searching for confirmation of inadequacy.
Yes, it becomes hyper-focused on anything that backs up that narrative. See? I told you so.
Can you give an example? Like, how does that actually work in a real situation?
Okay, sure. Let's say you walk into a meeting and maybe you're feeling a bit insecure because you messed up on part of a project recently.
Okay, yeah. Feeling vulnerable.
Right. Your brain might whisper, I am the least competent person in this room. Now, to prove that thought right,
It starts looking for evidence.
exactly, but selectively. It will completely filter out, like ignore anyone else who also looks nervous,
Yeah.
or maybe someone who asks a dumb question, or the new person who's clearly still learning the ropes.
It just screens them out.
Totally. Instead, your focus immediately snaps to the person giving the super polished presentation, or maybe the colleague who got praised by the boss yesterday.
So it ignores the average, ignores anything that contradicts the I'm incompetent idea, and zooms in on the exception that confirms it.
Precisely. It's like the ultimate confirmation bias, but weaponized against yourself. Your brain isn't acting like an objective reporter. It's acting like a biased filter, only showing you the bits of reality that fit your negative story.
And if the world doesn't fit the story,
The brain just ignores those facts, doesn't register them.
man, that's kind of terrifying.
It explains a lot, though. And this flawed filtering, this selective focus, it leads straight into the biggest trap of all. What some sources call the superficiality trap.
Superficiality, like focusing on surfaces.
Exactly. Or sometimes framed as comparing outsides versus insides. It's the fundamental, unavoidable flaw in the whole comparison game.
Okay, break that down. Outsides versus insides.
Think about it. You take your internal reality, everything you know about yourself, all the messiness, the private doubts, every mistake you've ever made, every insecurity.
Yeah, the full uncensored director's cut.
Right. The whole messy picture. And you compare that to someone else's polished exterior, their curated outside, which is literally all you can ever truly see of them.
Yeah, we're comparing our blooper reel to their highlight reel.
Perfectly put. It's not just an unfair comparison, it's statistically guaranteed to make you feel inadequate. You can't win that game.
Because you have all the data on yourself and almost none on them.
Exactly. There was a great anecdote in the sources about this, shared by a therapist. She talked about a family member she really admired.
Okay.
This relative was just super friendly, always seemed calm, incredibly chill, you know the type?
Yeah, effortlessly cool.
Right. And the therapist found herself constantly doing it, measuring her own stress levels, her own anxieties against this person's seemingly effortless calm, feeling like, why can't I be more like that?
Right, okay. Standard comparison stuff.
Yeah. But then one day she was talking to this relative's husband, and she said something, admiringly like, wow, it must be so great being married to someone so consistently relaxed and chill.
And what did the husband say?
He just kind of paused, and then really gently, he pointed out that actually sometimes that super chill quality meant she was maybe too chill.
Too chill.
Well, it meant important household stuff sometimes didn't get done, bills paid late, a kind of chronic disorganization that actually created a whole different kind of stress underneath the surface.
Whoa. So the strength she was envying had this whole hidden downside.
Exactly. That one comment completely flipped the script for the therapist. She'd been feeling bad comparing herself to a trait that, in reality, wasn't a pure positive. It had this shadow side she couldn't possibly see from the outside.
She was envying a curated image, not the full reality.
Precisely. Her judgment, based on limited external info, wasn't just incomplete, it was fundamentally flawed. It proves the point. Every strength often has a corresponding weakness. Right? Someone super disciplined might be rigid. Someone incredibly charming might struggle with being truly authentic. You just don't know the full picture.
And that makes so much sense, especially now the sources mention this trap is worse today, right?
Exponentially worse. Because we lack that deep interaction we used to have. Think about the village idea.
Where everyone kind of knew everyone else's business, the good and the bad.
Exactly. You knew the whole picture.
Yeah.
The strengths, sure.
Yeah.
But also the flaws, the struggles, maybe the too chill organizational habits. You had context.
But now?
Now, we mostly interact with these highly curated, isolated glimpses of lives, especially online, right?
Oh, yeah.
Social media.
Their endless scroll of perfect moments.
Right. So you are almost guaranteed to be comparing the full, messy 3D reality of your life
Yeah.
to someone's carefully edited photo album or a 15-second filtered video clip.
The depth is gone,
Right.
replaced by performance.
Performance. That's a great way to put it. The shallowness of performance.
Okay, so the whole mechanism is flawed. It's based on distorted reality. It's no wonder it makes us feel bad. But the sources suggest the costs go way beyond just, a momentary bummer.
Oh, absolutely. The costs are immense. They ripple out into our mental stability, even our financial health.
Let's talk mental health first. The list seemed pretty extensive.
It's shocking, really. Strong correlations have been found between high levels of comparison and, well, eating disorders, for one.
Yeah.
Pervasive low self-esteem, obviously. Clinical depression, chronic anxiety, social anxiety.
Makes sense. If you're always feeling judged or less than.
Right. Body dissatisfaction is a huge one, linked to comparing appearances.
Yeah.
Intense jealousy, naturally.
But there are a couple on that list that surprised me. Narcissism and perfectionism. How does feeling inadequate lead to something like narcissism? That seems like the opposite.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? But it actually gets to the heart of the issue. Comparison breeds unstable self-worth.
Unstable. Okay.
Narcissism isn't usually born from genuine self-love. It's often a defense mechanism, a shield built to protect a really fragile sense of self underneath.
So if you're constantly comparing yourself negatively,
You develop this deep, gnawing insecurity. Narcissistic traits, that external grandiosity, the need to put others down, aggressively seeking validation, can be a way to compensate. They have to project superiority precisely because they feel so inadequate inside.
wow. So the outward arrogance is covering up the inner emptiness created by comparison.
In many cases, yes. It's a constant, exhausting effort to prove your worth externally because you don't feel it internally, which perfectly highlights that unstable self-worth problem.
And that instability, it drives that endless chase we see, right?
Exactly. It leads to this addictive cycle. One of the personal accounts we looked at was from this super competitive student.
Okay.
Spent years grinding, pushing, obsessed with being the best, the top scholar. Finally achieves the goal, graduates with honors. Huge accomplishment.
You could feel amazing, right? Fulfillment.
You'd think, but no. Because their entire sense of worth was tied up in that external validation, that competitive ranking.
A second they cross the finish line.
It evaporated. The feeling didn't last. So what happened? Immediately pivoted. Now the goal had to be getting into a top grad school, becoming a professor, getting a PhD. The pressure just started all over again.
It's an endless ladder.
It's the definition of an endless ladder. If your worth is hitched to comparison or external credentials, you are signing up for constant striving, constant disappointment. The hedonic treadmill, but for achievement.
Always chasing the next thing, hoping that will be the thing that finally makes you feel worthy.
And it never is. The only way off that treadmill, according to the sources, is a conscious internal choice. You have to decide, this is enough. Who I am right now, what I've done, it's enough.
That sounds hard, but necessary.
It's the only way to break the cycle. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for the next goal, the next comparison, the next letdown.
And this doesn't just mess with our heads, right? It hits our wallets, too.
Oh, definitely. The sources were really clear on the lifestyle costs. Comparison directly fuels that keeping up with the Joneses pressure.
People spending money they don't have.
To match what they perceive others have. There was this one study cited, it was fascinating. Researchers looked at neighborhoods after someone won a big lottery prize.
Okay, what happened? Did the winner go on a spending spree?
Well, maybe, but that wasn't the focus. The really interesting finding was about the winner's neighbors, the people living right next door.
What did they do?
They started making significantly larger, more expensive purchases soon after the win, especially visible luxury items like fancy cars, things they often couldn't really afford.
Whoa, so just living next to someone who suddenly got rich made them spend more.
Yeah. It created this intense social pressure, a feeling of needing to maintain parity, even if it was completely artificial and financially irrational for them. They felt compelled to keep up, even into debt.
That's status signaling gone wild, driven entirely by comparison.
Exactly. Your perceived status relative to your immediate environment is a powerful motivator. And if that environment suddenly shifts the goalposts, even through random luck like a lottery win, the emotional pull to match it can override logic.
Which brings us right back to the idea that money itself doesn't fix this.
Absolutely not. The research is overwhelming on this point. Once your basic needs are met, safety, food, shelter, more wealth does not equal more lasting happiness or well-being.
The curve just flattens out.
Dramatically. There was this really striking observation from a manager at one of those ultra-exclusive, super high-end resorts. Places frequented by celebrities, billionaires.
Living the dream, supposedly.
Supposedly. But this manager told one of our sources that despite being surrounded by every imaginable luxury, every status symbol the world offers, she had honestly never encountered so many profoundly unhappy people in one place.
Wow. Surrounded by everything we're told to envy, and still miserable.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? Power, fame, obscene wealth, and deep unhappiness. Just proves the point.
That external stuff doesn't fill the internal void.
Right. Money, possessions. They might give you a temporary jolt of pleasure, maybe temporary relief from certain pressures, but they fundamentally fail to deliver lasting internal peace or sense of meaning.
And chasing it, comparing your bank account or your house, it's chasing a false promise.
Completely. You're wasting your energy being envious of something that likely isn't even solving their deep-seated issues and definitely won't solve yours.
Okay, so if comparison is this trap fueled by distorted thinking and leading to unstable worth and chasing false promises, the way out has to be a fundamental shift.
Exactly. It's about stopping this whole process of, well, outsourcing your identity.
Outsourcing identity, what do you mean by that?
Comparison is essentially letting other people or external things like achievements or possessions define your value, your intrinsic worth.
Okay.
It operates on this damaging belief that your goodness, your success, finding your place in some kind of hierarchy.
And you're saying that whole hierarchical model, it's broken.
It's fundamentally broken because the disappointment is baked in. It's inevitable.
Why can't you just win, be the best?
Because the best is always temporary and context dependent. Think about it. No matter how good you are at something, you can always find someone better in that specific area.
Right, or someone worse.
Exactly. And even if you reach the absolute pinnacle, let's say you win an Olympic gold medal, amazing achievement.
Yeah, peak performance.
But eventually, someone else will likely break your record. And besides, that same Olympic champion might be, totally average at cooking or terrible at managing finances or struggle with relationships. Their bestness is incredibly narrow.
So your rank is always shifting, always relative.
Always. And when you outsource your worth like that, making it dependent on external things like praise, salary, winning, social media likes, you make yourself emotionally vulnerable because you can't control those things.
You're putting your well-being in someone else's hands, essentially.
Precisely. But the alternative, the path to real security, is right there. It's immediate. It's realizing that your worth is inherent.
Inherent, meaning?
Meaning you are valuable just because you exist, period.
Yeah.
You don't have to earn worthiness through comparison or achievement. It's a given. It's already there.
Okay. That's a big shift in thinking.
It is. And once you grasp that, the measure of a good life changes completely. It's no longer about your rank compared to others.
What is it about then?
It's about living in integrity. How closely do your actions align with your own deeply held personal values? That becomes the metric.
So success isn't about climbing the ladder anymore.
No, it's about internal alignment, and that requires making that conscious internal decision we talked about earlier, looking at your life, your efforts, who you are, and choosing to say,
this is enough. I have enough.
yes. That realization, that conscious choice, is what breaks the cycle. It stops the endless striving, the inevitable disappointment that comes from chasing external validation.
It shifts the focus inward.
Entirely. It becomes about your journey, becoming the person you want to be, learning what you want to learn, creating what you want to create, showing up in a way that feels authentic to you.
And what other people are doing, it just becomes irrelevant to your own sense of worth.
Exactly. Their journey is theirs, yours is yours, and yours is inherently valuable, regardless of theirs.
Okay, this is all making sense conceptually. Shifting from external comparison to internal integrity, but how? How do we actually do that? This is where we need the toolkit, right?
Right, because knowing isn't enough. Comparison is often an automatic habit, that brain shortcut we mentioned. So we need concrete behavioral things we can do to interrupt it and rewire our responses.
Let's get practical. What's step one?
Step one is cultivating deep awareness and then actively, almost aggressively, interrupting the thought when it happens.
Awareness, like just noticing when you're doing it, because it often feels subconscious.
Exactly. Most comparison happens automatically. So the first job is just to shine a light on it. Pay attention. When does it happen?
The sources had a good tip for this, didn't they? Like keeping a log.
Yeah, that's a great practical technique. For a few days, just notice, when did I feel that pang of inadequacy, that envy? What triggered it? Was I scrolling a specific Instagram feed?
Or walking through a fancy mall. Or reading industry news.
Precisely. Identify your specific triggers. Knowledge is power here.
Okay, so you notice the trigger, you feel the comparison thought starting. Then what?
Then you need an immediate interrupt. A firm internal command. This is basic cognitive behavioral stuff. Literally say to yourself, stop that, or nope, or redirect.
Just shut it down.
Shut it down. Don't indulge it. Don't spiral. And crucially, don't beat yourself up for having the thought in the first place. Just acknowledge it. There's that comparison thing again. and then physically redirect your attention.
Like put the phone down, close the tab, look away.
Exactly. Remind yourself you're likely looking at a curated performance, an incomplete picture. Break the spell.
Okay, interrupt the cycle. Got it. Step 2.
Okay.
This one seemed really important for the long game.
Step 2 is about dealing with that voice inside. The inner critic. We all have one, right?
Yeah.
That nagging voice pointing out every flaw, every mistake.
Oh yeah, mine can be pretty loud sometimes.
So the key here is to engage it, but with self-compassion.
Compassion, not fighting it.
Not fighting it, understanding it. One really powerful technique from a life coach we reviewed is to actually name your inner critic.
Give it a name, like Bob or Susan.
Whatever works. The source mentioned a client who called hers Chiara. Naming it does 2 crucial things. First, it externalizes it. It's not you, it's Chiara. It separates the voice from your core self.
Okay, so it feels less like my true thoughts.
Exactly. And second, it makes it recognizable. You start to notice, oh, that's just Chiara piping up again. It gives you perspective and reduces its power.
Huh. I like that. So you name the critic, Chiara. What then?
Then you apply the be your own best friend rule. This is huge.
Be your own best friend.
Ask yourself, would I ever say this horrible thing to my actual best friend if they were feeling down? Would I tell them they're awkward, unworthy, not good enough?
No, of course not. You'd be supportive, kind.
Right. So the rule is, if you wouldn't say it to a friend, you are absolutely not allowed to say it to yourself. Instead, you turn toward that critical voice, Chiara, with kindness, with understanding, even curiosity.
Curiosity. How does that work? If Shara is saying, you totally bombed that presentation, you're a failure.
Instead of just absorbing it, you get curious. You ask Sarah, gently, okay, Ciara, thanks for sharing. I hear you're worried. What are you actually afraid might happen? Or why do you feel that way?
Trying to understand the fear behind the criticism.
Exactly. Often, that inner critic is just scared. It's trying to protect you from perceived threats, rejection, failure, judgment. Maybe the fear isn't about the presentation itself, but about disappointing someone or not living up to an old expectation.
So you unpack the root fear.
Yes. And that compassionate investigation actually helps heal the underlying insecurity in a way that just trying harder externally never can. You're shifting from fixing the symptom to understanding the cause.
Okay, awareness and interruption, then naming and compassion for the critic. Step 3, this one seemed very practical too.
Step 3 is about actively counteracting that selective focus blind spot. We talked about the brain's tendency to ignore your good stuff. You need to create a record of achievements.
Like literally write down things I've done well.
Yes. Build tangible evidence of your own competence and value. And this isn't just about big, shiny professional wins, like landing a huge client.
What else should go in there?
Small things. And critically, things based on character and effort, not just outcome. Did you ace that project? Great, write it down. But also, did you take the time to really listen to a friend who is struggling?
Okay.
Did you drag yourself to the gym when you felt exhausted but knew it was important for your health? Did you choose not to gossip when everyone else was? Did you handle a difficult conversation with integrity?
So recording effort, kindness, integrity, not just trophies.
Exactly. These things build a different kind of evidence. Concrete proof that you are capable, that you make good choices, that you show up for people, that you have valuable qualities.
And looking at this list, it reminds you of your own value when the comparison monster attacks.
Precisely. It's your personal ammo against the "I'm not good enough" narrative. It bolsters real self-esteem based on who you are and the effort you put in, reminding you that your worth is real too, just different from the person you're comparing yourself to.
Okay, building my evidence file. Makes sense. Step 4. This felt like the core replacement strategy.
Step 4 is where you really pivot. It's shifting your focus entirely to integrity and values. This is what you actively do instead of comparing.
So catch yourself comparing, then immediately switch to thinking about values.
Yes. When that comparison thought hits, interrupt it. Stop. And then immediately ask yourself 2 questions. First, what do I really value?
Identifying your core principles like honesty, connection, health, creativity.
Exactly. What truly drives you at your best? What makes you feel proud when you act in alignment with it? We need to pause here, though. How do you figure this out if you've never thought about it?
Good question. How do you define your values? It's not always obvious.
It's not about what you say you value. It's about what your actions reveal. A good exercise is to think about times you felt genuinely proud of yourself. What were you doing? What principle were you living out?
Maybe standing up for someone. So the value is justice or courage.
Could be. Or maybe finishing a really difficult project through sheer persistence. The value might be determination or competence. Conversely, think about times you felt ashamed or deeply conflicted. What value were you likely violating?
Okay, so reflecting on peak moments and low moments reveals the underlying principles.
Right. Try to distill it down to your top 5 to 7 core values. Write them down. Keep them visible.
Okay, so first, identify the values. Then what's the second question when comparison hits?
The second question is the integrity check, you ask. Am I currently acting in integrity with insert your value?
Okay, give me an example. Let's say I'm comparing my fitness level to my super fit friend Shelly and feeling like a failure.
Right. So you catch the thought, Shelly's so much fitter, I suck.
Yeah.
You interrupt. Stop. You identify a relevant value. Let's say it's physical health. Then you ask the integrity check question. Okay, regardless of Shelly, am I acting in integrity with my own value of physical health?
And the answer might be, well, I'm walking every day, which aligns, but I'm also eating junk food every night, which doesn't.
Exactly. And notice that answer isn't about beating yourself up. It's a non-judgmental observation. It gives you clear, actionable insight. Okay, the walking is good. The evening eating is where I'm out of alignment with my own value.
So the focus shifts immediately from Shelly to my own actions and choices related to my own goal.
Precisely. Your motivation changes. You stop running away from the bad feeling of comparison, and you start running toward living in alignment with what you decided matters. It becomes about personal growth, maybe creativity, maybe connection, whatever your values are driven from the inside out, not by external competition.
That feels much more empowering. Okay, final step. Step 5.
Step 5 is about the ongoing practice, introspection and embracing imperfection. This isn't a one-and-done fix.
Right, it's a process.
So, self-care here means more than just bubble baths. It means continuous active introspection. Journaling is a fantastic tool for this,
How so?
especially when you feel yourself spiraling into self-doubt or comparison. Get those thoughts out of your head and onto paper. Just dump them out.
Why does writing them down help?
It externalizes them again. It lets you look at them more objectively. You can then challenge them. Is this thought actually true? Is it helpful? Or is it just my Ciara voice reacting to a trigger? Seeing it written down often reveals how irrational or unfair the thought really is.
Okay, using journaling for reality checks. And the embracing imperfection part.
This is crucial. You will slip up. Breaking free from a lifetime of comparison habits isn't linear. You'll have days where you fall back into scrolling and feeling bad.
And the key is not to see that as failure.
Exactly. Recognize it's part of the process. It's a cycle, 2 steps forward, maybe 1 step back sometimes. The goal isn't to become some mythical, perfect person who never compares. That person doesn't exist.
Right. The people we compare ourselves to aren't perfect either. We just don't see their imperfections.
Precisely. So the goal is self-acceptance. Acknowledge you're human, you'll stumble. Be okay with imperfection in yourself. That acceptance is actually the ultimate antidote to the relentless perfectionism that comparison often fuels.
Okay, so implementing this toolkit, awareness, compassion, tracking achievements, focusing on integrity, embracing imperfection, it sounds like it shifts your whole worldview.
It really does. It allows you to move away from a mindset built on scarcity.
Scarcity, like not enough to go around.
Exactly. The scarcity mindset is the dark underbelly of comparison. It's the belief that there's a limited pie, limited success, limited happiness, limited love, and therefore I have to compete fiercely with everyone else to grab my slice before it's gone.
That sounds stressful and isolating.
It's incredibly stressful and leads to profound isolation. It fosters constant drama, suspicion, that crabs in a bucket thing you hear about.
Right, where if one crab tries to climb out, the others pull it back down.
Yes, because in a scarcity world, someone else's success feels like your loss. We have to keep everyone down to protect our own potential share.
And the sources pointed out this scarcity mindset can actually backfire, right? Even in competitive fields.
Absolutely. Think about that example of the super skilled soccer player we touched on earlier. If their only motivation is extrinsic, I must be the best, better than everyone else.
They might train hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it might also make them intensely competitive with their own teammates. Maybe they hog the ball, don't pass in crucial moments because they want the glory. They feel threatened by teammates' successes. It undermines the whole team.
Whereas a player focused on internal values.
Like, I want to be the best player I can be. I value being a great teammate. I'm committed to my physical health. Their drive comes from within. It fosters collaboration, resilience, connection. That kind of success is usually far more sustainable and, frankly, enjoyable.
It makes you think, who actually benefits from us all believing in scarcity, believing we're not enough and need to constantly compete and acquire more?
Well, follow the money, right?
Yeah.
Who profits when we feel inadequate?
The entire advertising industry, consumer culture.
Pretty much. Media, advertising,
Yeah.
they often thrive by tapping into that scarcity mindset, making us feel less than, so we'll buy the product that promises to fix it, to help us keep up or get ahead.
So choosing to step out of that, to focus on internal value and enoughness, it's almost like an act of rebellion.
It really is. It's pushing back against a massive cultural tide that profits from our insecurity. Choosing abundance, collaboration, inherent worth that's countercultural in a powerful way.
Okay, so the alternative to scarcity is abundance.
The abundance mindset. This is the belief that there is enough to go around, enough success, enough joy, enough opportunity. Someone else's happiness doesn't diminish yours.
It fosters collaboration instead of competition.
Exactly. When you operate from abundance, you can genuinely celebrate someone else's win. You can get excited by their success, maybe even learn from them, instead of feeling resentful or threatened.
Because their success doesn't mean less for you.
Right. And think about things like love, kindness, knowledge, support. The sources emphasize these are renewable resources.
Renewable.
Yeah. The more you give away, the more you actually generate. Giving kindness doesn't deplete your kindness reserves. It often grows them. Sharing knowledge doesn't make you dumber. It solidifies your understanding and builds connection. That breaks the scarcity model completely.
So the ultimate goal here is shifting how we see others.
Absolutely. Moving away from using people as yardsticks for the selfish purpose of determining your own goodness, as one source put it.
Which is what comparison really is.
Yes, and moving towards genuine connection. Seeing people clearly with their unique gifts and their inevitable flaws, and relating to them as fellow humans on their own journey, not as competitors on yours.
That feels like a much healthier way to live.
It is. And there's one final, super accessible practice the source has consistently highlighted for cultivating this abundance mindset.
What's that?
Simple, profound gratitude.
Just being thankful.
Consciously, specifically daily, making it a practice to count your blessings. Actively reminding yourself of the good things already present in your life, big or small. Your health, a supportive friend, a sunny day, a project you're proud of.
How does gratitude fight comparison?
Because it actively builds a defense against perceived lack. When you are consciously focused on what you do have, on the abundance already around you, you become exponentially less vulnerable to envying what others seem to have. Gratitude fills the space that envy tries to occupy. So we've really covered a lot today. From understanding why comparison trips us up those mental traps like the selective focus and the outsides versus insides problem.
Yeah, realizing how our brains kind of set us up for it and how superficial it really is.
Right. And then moving into that practical toolkit, the awareness, the self-compassion, the integrity focus, concrete steps you can take to ground your sense of worth internally.
It feels like moving from being lost in this miserable game you can't win
To having a much clearer path, a focus on your own unique value, your own journey, living by your rules, not someone else's perceived ones.
that sense of relief when you realize you don't have to keep playing that game.
Exactly. Freedom comes when you stop outsourcing your worth and accept it's inherent, and start measuring your life by your own values, your own integrity.
Okay, so for our final thought today, something provocative to leave people mulling over.
Right. So we've established that comparison is often harmful, driven by flawed thinking. But that human tendency to look at others, to notice differences, it's pretty deeply ingrained, maybe impossible to erase completely.
So what if we could channel it differently?
Exactly. What if, instead of letting that comparative spark fuel envy over superficial things, their house, their job title, their abs,
Things that ultimately don't bring lasting happiness anyway.
right, what if you use that spark of noticing, that admiration, as fuel to improve something that really matters, something internal?
Like character.
Precisely. So the challenge for you listening is this. Think of someone you genuinely admire, not for their possessions or their status, but for their deep worth.
Like their generosity, their resilience, their kindness, how present they are.
Exactly. Qualities of character. Identify someone who embodies a value you truly respect, and then focus your energy, not on wanting to be them or have what they have.
But on embodying that quality more fully yourself.
Yes. Use admiration as a guide for your own internal action, your own growth and integrity. Let it inspire you to cultivate that quality within yourself, rather than letting it devolve into external rivalry or envy.
So turning comparison on its head, using it constructively for internal growth, not destructively for external measurement.
That's the idea. Stop playing the comparison game that only breeds misery. Start using that powerful human tendency to observe and admire as fuel for becoming a better version of yourself, living in closer alignment with your values.
And ultimately making your own unique corner of the world better because of the person you choose to be.
Absolutely. Know your value. Know the incredible, unique contribution you bring. Realize that right now, just as you are, with your own mix of strengths and struggles, you are profoundly enough.